financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is tax time and eliminating tax debt with the offer in compromise. Ryan Small.
Good morning, Ken. Tax time is so much fun for the average Americans sitting there, pulling their hair out, trying to get their taxes done.
I would say tax time is so much fun for every American, average and non-American.
Well, no, I was going to say...
Nobody likes tax time.
No.
Except Jeff Linden.
Because remember what I just said? I said pulling their hair out. For me, it's already been done, so...
So you got it covered.
I do.
Or uncovered.
Jeffrey Kirshner.
Hi, this seems monotonous. Didn't we do this last year? And wait, the year before we did this? And
yeah,
the year before we
Unfortunately, the government consistently says, give me your money.
Yes.
Give me you're tired, you're hungry.
Although I think last year we didn't do it in April. Last year we did it, I think, in July.
It was COVID, whatever.
You know what they say? The two things you can't get out of are death and taxes. And guess what? I do taxes and probate. So we're covered.
There you go.
That's an ominous situation,
I like
have
that.
to say. So let's just start with number one. Tax deadline this year.
April 18th?
April 18th, because it's what?
Emancipation Day.
Yeah, so that pushes you from the 15th, which is on Friday, to the 18th. Extension deadline, October 17th. Why is that important?
Well, I mean, it's important because for my purposes in collection, your tax due date triggers your statute of limitations on collection. For most people, you have to pay when you file an extension. If you're going to owe tax, you got to pay on the first filing date, but you get that extra time to file your return and get your documents together.
It also helps you if you file an extension. You have until October 17th to file your tax return, and as long as you file it by that date, you're not subject to a non-filing penalty,
right,
and you're not subject to a non-payment penalty. But there's also another important thing about those dates. You have to be cognizant of when they are if you're trying to discharge your taxes in bankruptcy, because it's a moving target. And so because it's been a moving target due to COVID, a lot of attorneys make mistakes as to knowing when the 3-year rule runs out. I know we'll talk about that later, but I'm just throwing that out.
So there's a 3-year rule. But before we get to it, what I was trying to emphasize was the biggest point was people make what I consider to be a horrific mistake. And that's they don't file their return on time because they're worried because they haven't paid in their taxes. And they think, if I don't file it, it won't be as bad, or I don't want to file it because I don't want to draw attention to it.
It's a very expensive mistake.
It's a 25% penalty.
In 5 months.
Yeah, well, it's 5% a month. I can tell you this, I have never met someone who didn't file their return on time and filed it within the 5-month period, so they only got a 20% penalty. Because by the time they come in, the non-filed return's been non-filed for 2 years. Once you get, so it's really a 25% penalty.
Oh, it's more than that, though. Don't forget, because it's the non-payment penalty, too, which is a 0.5% per month.
But the non-payment penalty hits if you don't have the money.
Right.
So the point is, if you don't have the money, you save 25% by filing the return on time. Or stated it differently, if you don't have the money and you don't file the return on time, you're going to pay an extra 25%, which is foolish.
You're also paying interest on your primary tax liability and interest on the penalty And in today's market, that interest rate is ticking up.
It's going to start going up. It's been historically very low for the last 10 years, but it is going to start. It's already creeped up a point. I know that they announced it last month.
And isn't it? It's a crime not to file your taxes.
It is
not
a crime.
necessarily not to pay. There's penalties and other problems that come along with it. But the criminal aspect of it is not filing your tax return. Correct.
Correct.
So you might as well. You're going to have to file your tax return at some point. You might as well file your tax return and deal with the financial.
There are other
aspects.
benefits also. When you get into the collection, if you don't pay and you end up in a collection cycle and you're seeking my help for that, one of the tools we can leverage again for your benefit is the statute of limitations. The government has a fine limit of time to collect taxes from you, but that limit of time goes from assessment, and if you don't file your tax return, that clock doesn't start. So if you wait 10 years to file, you've just wasted that time.
Yeah, you're just delaying the statute, and the government could file for you, and if they do that, then you can't discharge it in bankruptcy.
Right, because that's a substitute for return, which is never dischargeable in bankruptcy.
Here's something that I want to share. You watch commercials all the time that disturb you from the standpoint, IRS, and they're coming for you, and you have to fear collection and everything else. And there's truth from the standpoint that if you're not prepared for them, you don't have representation, and you don't know what your rights are, you can be a victim of the collection process. But there's also another side that you have to realize. Not paying your taxes to the federal government, you have plenty of avenues of protection for yourself if you follow the rules and take advantage of the government rules and laws that are there. It is not as bad to owe the federal government as it is to owe the state of Michigan. The federal government has a much more lenient policy in terms of paying them back and avoiding levies and avoiding very harsh results. But you need to know what the rules are, and you're not going to know the rules on your own. You need somebody to advise you. So even though the marketing always tries to make everyone fear the government, don't let that fear cause you to file your return late, because if you do that, all you're doing is upping your cost by 25%. And that's the mistake too many people make.
I mean, the song doesn't go fear the government. The song goes fear the reaper. So
that one does.
So
just to cover the
That's
last
the
one,
Beatles taxman.
I think you said it, Brian. The non-payment penalty is 0.5% per month.
for 50 months.
For 50 months. So that's, that's also something you want to avoid, but it's not, 0.5% per month isn't that horrific of a rate. It's less than a credit card rate. We'll take a break and we'll come back.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
Pat was recommended by a friend who insisted that we really needed a trust. And he said, I know somebody who will do a good job for you.
At Simasco Law, we deal with estate planning and trusts every day.
We had excellent service from Simasco Law. Any questions we had were addressed. Our estate is in order, and it had been set up so well that nothing needed to be done. I would just highly recommend Simasco Law.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients.
You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
All right, so we're back. All right, so we've covered the issue. Just to say it one more time, no matter what happens, get the return filed. Don't worry if you don't have the money. Now let's deal with, you've filed the returns, you owe them money. How do we get rid of, how do we settle this tax debt? And what about all these tax settlement firms we see on TV?
Well, I mean, the firms you see on TV, I mean, you get the late night television ads. If you owe more than $10,000, the federal government, they come and they want you to pay up front. And what they'll tend to do is you're dealing with a commissioned salesperson most of the time on the phone who's trying to get you to sign up and pay money up front for whatever resolution they're going to do. And they tend to always sell you an offer in compromise for north of $5,000 to $8,000.
Yeah, and the thing is this. They're preying on your insecurity and how you're afraid. And they're trying, the guy who's talking to you on the phone on 1-800 whatever is going to get a commission off of whatever he sells you. But there is a couple things to know. There are good programs in the government. There is a program known as the Offer in Compromise, which is a great program if you meet the parameters and qualify. If you don't meet the parameters because your cousin Vinny works for the IRS. You meet the parameters if you meet the numbers that go with it, in terms of if you have very few assets and you have low income, it doesn't matter how much you owe. The Offer in Compromise program is based upon what you own and how much you make. And if you don't make very much and you don't own very much, you can settle for pennies on the dollar. It doesn't matter if you owe $10,000 or $1 million. The amount you have to pay in the settlement is just based upon what you own and how much you make less your expenses.
It's a formula. It's a mathematical formula that when we apply it, you're going to qualify or you don't. But sometimes we can play the game and get you to qualify for it. It's a matter of getting the analysis done and not hiding your head in the sand and thinking that your tax debt will just go away magically.
Right. Actually, where we can help though, it is a formula, but there's discretion in terms of how you qualify components of income and components of asset, components of expenses. And that's where knowledge of the Internal Revenue Manual, which we have, and the art of negotiation and advocacy comes in to help you. You might not know when you call the IRS, and they're not going to tell you if you don't ask the right question how to get yourself qualified, whereas we do.
And now here's the thing, going back to the tax settlement companies. We can't tell you, without discussing your finances, whether you're going to qualify for an offer in compromise. We can figure it out quickly in a consultation, and then we can decide, yes, an offer in compromise is a viable solution. What these national companies do, however, is right off the bat they say, oh, you're alive and you're breathing, you qualify for the offer in compromise, The fee is the minimum fee is $8,500. If we settle for less money, if we reduce your debt by X amount, the fee will be more. You can start this process off immediately with a credit card and pay us now. And they haven't even done the analysis as to whether you will qualify. And they have a tendency to put you into the program and apply for it. Whether you will succeed or not, you won't know for a year later. And then once you find out you don't succeed, you've wasted all that money.
Now why?
That's a scam. We would never do that.
$10,000. You always hear that. Give us the 2 cents as to why they always come up with the threshold of at least $10,000.
Wait, just a second. No, you don't hear it like you hear it like this. If you owe more than $10,000, that's
actually
the way
it's
usually
always
credit
done. It's usually on the credit card.
The answer to your question is in what Ken just said. If I'm going to call one of these companies and I'm going to get charged $8,500 off the bat,
they don't want
and
you
I owe less than $10,000, why would I pay that much money?
So they want the person that owes a lot of money so that they can
the $8
hit them
grand
for the
sounds like
big
a deal.
But if you owe the IRS $8,000 and you qualify for an offer in compromise that will only result in paying them $250, we can handle an offer in compromise like that and get it done at a reasonable price so that you're still saving money. That's the whole point.
Right.
And if you don't what if you don't qualify for an offer in compromise? What other avenues are there to help you?
Well,
there's bankruptcy. What else is there?
There's bankruptcy. There's a number of forms of installment agreements. There's currently not collectible status, where the government won't be collecting on you for a period of time, and they'll potentially look at it again a couple years down the road.
Based upon what your assets and income is?
Exactly.
Well, what's better? Would it be better to get an offer in compromise or discharge taxes in bankruptcy? And how do you do that, Brian?
So, all right. So you can only file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy or once every 8 years. Okay. So you want to be able to, if you want to be able to discharge your income taxes, which you
mentioned
can do,
a 3-year rule.
The taxes had to have come due at least 3 years ago. They had to have been filed for at least 2 years, and you can't have been assessed in the previous 8 months. If those factors play into your favor, subject to about 68 different subjective smaller rules, you can get rid of your income tax liability and discharge it in a bankruptcy.
So is it better doing that, or is it better doing an offer in compromise?
So if you are historically one of those people that fails to file their tax return on time, always owes, and just can't seem to get...
Are you saying if I'm a deadbeat?
No. If you're historically just not
like
able...
if I'm self-employed and I'm always fighting to pay my taxes because it's hard to do? Okay.
So,
like most self-employed people that I know?
So a bankruptcy is a better choice usually because there's a 5-year stay clean rule.
What's that?
So it's a condition of the offer in compromise. Once you get your offer accepted, you have to be a good taxpayer for 5 years. That means you have to file your returns on time, and you have to not have tax liability at the end of the year that you don't pay with your return.
For 5 years.
Yeah, and it's a day late or $1 short, and you're defaulted, and all of the debt that we got taken away comes crashing back down
That can be a
immediately.
big problem for the self-employed person who's used to kind of paying last year's taxes with next year's income.
But what all of that means is when you come to us, we examine all of your opportunities and help you choose the best path for you. It isn't necessarily that tax program on TV that they only do one thing. Right. We do it all, so we're going to find you your best solution.
It's also not always one or the other.
Let's take a break, and I want to come back and wrap up on this with the last segment. I want to play the What Should I Do game. We'll be back after the break.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 a.m. and Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m. and on KISS 105.9 Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. Live seminars are back Wednesday, April 20th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. How to make debt a thing of the past. Come and join us and learn how to switch from trying to keep pace with debt to actually saving money for your future. This will put you in a position where you have something actually to retire with. Debt elimination is a key part of the process. Special segment by Jeff Linden on how to resolve tax issues. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Then on Wednesday, May 18th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., I have a seminar, Estate Planning 101, The Absolute Essentials. Basic elements of an estate plan, documents you need while living, making sure your assets go where you want them to go, how to avoid the cost of probate, and what you need to know about probate. Attendees get a $300 gold certificate off the cost of any estate plan. Sign up for both seminars at thavgross.com or lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can also remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. We're still doing them via teleconference or live in the office, whatever your preference is. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business law issues, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Just sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. Also, go online for free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by myself. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure. Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. And The Retiree's Guide for Social Security from Pat Simasko. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Simasko Law, and Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
We were just spinning. We just didn't know what was going to happen next.
At Simasko Law, we deal with these issues every day, especially elder law. Pat went to work for Fran.
Patrick was there holding my hand, kept saying, we'll get through this, we'll get through this.
He got her husband Medicaid and in a nursing home. Simasko Law got the success they deserved.
Simasko Law is definitely family to me. I really appreciate knowing all of you.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. All right, so time for the what should I do game. Okay. So, first one. What should I do if I haven't filed my returns for several years?
Move to Ecuador. That's not correct?
Call Jeff.
Oh.
And what else should I do?
Call your CPA to get your returns prepared.
Or your accountant.
Yeah.
Here's the point. When you haven't filed your returns for several years, it becomes a psychological impediment to getting it done, and there's also a records problem. If you don't have the records, believe it or not, we will estimate the returns. The key is you got to get them filed. And in filing them takes care of the criminal problem, gives us the ammunition to resolve the problem. Until they're filed, you're not in the ballpark to solve the problem, so
right.
You're going to continue to lose sleep.
There's two quick things. One, I can get your W-2s and 1099s if you can't find them from the IRS, because those are public record documents with the IRS. So we can help you get your documents together. And two, I can't get you into any of the benefit programs if you're not compliant or haven't filed.
And you can't file bankruptcy on your
Because you have to have filed returns.
Because you have to file returns.
For 3 years.
Just
for 2 years.
Quick question. You said that at some point in time, if you don't file, the government can file?
It's called an SFR, substitute for return.
Right. What is your experience as to how long it would take before the government steps in and does that?
You never know.
It varies.
Okay.
It can be 3 years, it can be 5 years, it can be 2 years.
Right.
But it's a bad thing, because once that happens, remember Brian was talking about discharging taxes in bankruptcy, you lose that option forever.
And it's not only can you not discharge them in bankruptcy if you haven't filed them, but you don't get to file bankruptcy if you need to file for other reasons if you haven't filed your taxes.
So you've got to get the returns
And I
filed.
assume that you can't, if they file for you, you can't then dispute what they filed for you.
Yes, you
You
can.
still have
You
the
can.
3 years to amend your return, and you can. We
Okay.
often suggest doing that because you can lower your tax debt often.
And you can go to tax court.
So you
do
can
all the
still
things that
dispute it.
You still
Gotcha.
have those rights, but nothing that you do will change it to the status that you filed the return. It's always they filed it for you, so you can't do the bankruptcy. Next one. What if I get a notice of wage levy?
Let me think about it.
Call Jeff. What do you do?
Well, we can get the wage levy released. We start negotiating. We get you into an installment agreement or not collectible program. Once we're engaged with the IRS, we can get the wage levy taken off.
What if I get a summons to appear?
Same answer.
That's a more serious thing when you get a summons to appear. But all of these, you need to take action. But let me just tell you right off the bat, you get a summons, you must appear.
To appear where?
Before the IRS, they're calling you, and it's a subpoena.
Is it to like their local office, or where would they
Maybe
ask you to go?
Let me give
sometimes to go downtown to the court. Depends what
Let me
they
give
say.
everybody that gets one of those notices a tip of a good tip. Do not go alone. Have an attorney. Make sure your CPA is well versed in what's going on also, and be prepared. Don't just show up because they will fry you. Period.
Well, first of all, if you get a summons, it's a more serious matter. So the process is you come in, you meet with us as your attorney, we find out what's going on, and then we carve and create the strategy that we need to address it. A lot of times it's get the returns filed and done so that when we show, and we reach out to the attorney and say, what's going on? How can we get this resolved? What is it that you need? We try and avoid having that conference if we can. That's being proactive as soon as you get it. What about if you get a notice of an audit? Call Jeff is one, and we love that sign. But also, if it's a normal audit and you had your accountant do the return, you can go back to the accountant to look for resolving the audit. The question is, how is that audit proceeding? What we always say to you is, if the audit is not going well, don't accept the proposal from the government automatically thinking it's your only outcome. Bring it to us, let us review it. We go to tax court when necessary to fight audit results, and we always improve the situation, or we won't take the case to tax court. But if the government auditor is being unfair and just denying all your deductions, you're a truck driver and she's saying, you don't have proof of fuel, I'm denying that deduction. Well, you can't drive a truck without fuel. So you have to get some deduction. The law does allow you. Just because the auditor says no, that's not the final answer. Bottom line, if you've got a problem, seek out advice. We're here to help. That's the right thing. Call Jeff. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.